Hello, dear friends. Today's topic is religious legitimacy, chapter 5. Legitimacy in politics is a belief among actors that a rule or institution should be obeyed, crucial for governments to maintain power and achieve goals. Legitimacy is primarily based on creating a perception among constituents that the government is correct and worthy of obedience. Robert Dahl views legitimacy as essential for government, even in autocratic regimes, as a collapse is likely without it. Legitimacy is rooted in collective beliefs and perceptions. If people perceive a government as legitimate, they are more likely to follow its laws. Religion plays a significant role in supporting or undermining legitimacy, alongside other factors such as success in achieving goals, tradition, popular consent, democracy, revolution, indigenous charisma, rule of law, international recognition, ethnicity, or nationalism. Let's talk some of these aspects. For example, democracy. Democracy is considered one of the most legitimate forms of government, derived from popular consent. Revolutions can confer legitimacy on new governments by expressing the will of the people. Charismatic leaders can enhance legitimacy through their ability to influence people. Governments perceived as following rules and enforcing laws equally are seen as more legitimate. International recognition can bolster a government's legitimacy, although its absence is conspicuous. Ethnicity and nationalism can enhance legitimacy, especially in relatively homogeneous countries. The role of religion in enhancing or undermining legitimacy is widely acknowledged in political science, with a chapter focusing on the nature of religious legitimacy, chapter 5. Religion has historically been utilized as a potent tool to legitimize various aspects of society, including governments, opposition movements, policies, and institutions. The Dutch Reformed Church in South Africa provided religious justification for apartheid using elements of Calvinism, such as predestination to justify racial superiority. Biblical quotes were employed to support racial segregation, with reference to Noah's curse and the Tower of Babel. Similar religious justifications were made for slavery in the U.S., as evidenced by George Whitting's defense of slavery in his book Cannibals All. Scott Appleby highlights the inherent ambiguity in religious texts, allowing for diverse interpretations that can justify both peace and violence. Religion's ability to legitimize actions, even those universally considered abhorrent like genocide, is a reflection of its versatility. The appropriateness of using religion to justify certain actions is subject to debate among theologians, but from a political science perspective, the focus is one of the effectiveness of these interpretations in influencing political behavior and determining legitimacy. In much of Western history, religious legitimacy was essential for rulers, with the Church playing a central role in legitimating governments through the belief in divine right. Two theories of political legitimacy exist: the descending theory, where power descends from God to the ruler, and ascending theory, where legitimacy comes from the consent of the governed. The U.S. Constitution exemplifies the ascending theory, granting power based on the consent of the governed rather than divine right. While religion's role in providing descending legitimacy has diminished in the West, it remains significant, as seen in many countries' constitutions. Despite secularism, religion still influences politics and governance, as evidenced by references to God in constitutions and the oath of office in Western democracies. Mark Juergen Schmeyer argues that religious legitimacy is making a comeback globally, especially in the third world, as secular ideologies fail to deliver on promises of prosperity and justice. Religious leaders and organizations are seen as less corrupt and more indigenous, offering an alternative basis for government legitimacy. While some argue that modernization and secularization have diminished religion's role, religious laws and policies are still prevalent in Western countries, and religion remains important globally. The changing demographics of the West, with increasing immigration from religious regions, may further influence the role of religion in governance. The coexistence and conflict between religion and secularism are likely to continue shaping society's source of legitimacy. Now let's talk about limits of religious legitimacy. Religious legitimacy can both bolster and undermine political entities, policies, and actors, but relying on it can also make them vulnerable. Invoking religious legitimacy is effective within a specific religious context, but may not resonate across different denominations. The effectiveness of religious legitimacy depends on the religiosity of the audience. Secular individuals may be unaffected or even opposed to religious arguments. Personal religious credentials play a significant role in leveraging religious legitimacy, but even politicians with poor religious credentials can tap into it by supporting religious agendas, like Trump, for example. Religious legitimacy can be influenced by public opinion, and religious organizations may adjust their stances to remain relevant. The clergy's influence on congregants' political opinions is limited, with individuals often projecting their views onto religious leaders. Clergy involvement in politics can undermine their perceived neutrality and erode their influence as moral arbiters. Religious actors can form influential epistemic communities, but their political neutrality is essential for maintaining their societal status. While politicians may cynically manipulate religious legitimacy, it also reflects genuine religious beliefs and sensibilities which have limits in justifying certain actions. So, dear friends, I hope you understood the summary of chapter 5, religious legitimacy, and here our journey comes to end. Thank you for watching.